Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge and Company. 60% of Americans think the Afghan war is futile, and we should not be fighting there. Still, the administration concluded in a review last December that General Petraeus' strategy is working, implying some degree of success. But what is that strategy, and is it really working? Too many of us think not. My guest, Leila Zand, the Middle East Program Director of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, has just returned from Kabul and has much to say about this, and I am very anxious to hear about it. You went on a planned mission.
Yes.
Yeah.
I traveled with Voices for Creative Nonviolence, and they usually send delegations to Afghanistan and Pakistan. And it was for the first time for me to be part of a delegation and not lead the delegation. Yeah. And it was an amazing experience. It was, I stayed in Kabul for 1 week, and we visited some individuals, organizations, grassroots organizations, some organizations which have been around for many years, even before the invasion, and some recently started their work. As well as politicians or people who were in the office before. And we also average Afghans in the streets and refugee camps.
And what do they have to say about the world and about the United States and about how they're living?
I think it was different conversations with different people that we met. For example, some organizations who were more educated and they were more active in their societies, like women organization that we met. I'm interested in women's issue in those areas, as well as a specific organization that we have been working for past 2 years. It's Afghan Youth Peace Volunteers, and they all are tired of this war. And it's not something that we've been there for 10 years. They are tired of being in violence and cycle of violence for the past 30 years at least.
Yeah.
And they are really tired of that. And they want us to leave. I think this is every Afghans that I talk to, as well as even we've heard that President Karzai said, we want Americans or NATO leave our country. And I think the main reason is because we are creating more violence.
You're part of the fellowship,
yeah.
which believes, what is the basic belief, that if people understand each other better?
The basic belief of Fellowship of Reconciliation, I believe, is communication, dialogue, no violence, and no violence among people and among countries, and one-to-one dialogue, not use gun instead of dialogues. And we try to follow the path of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, and we are proud of that, to have open dialogue even with our enemy. And in our case, in Middle East area, we try to have enemy and direct relationship with Iran, with Afghanistan, with Iraq, and in this specific case, that was in my mission, to go and see this enemy. Who are these people who we give that ourselves
and killing? And you went to a refuge. I mean, Afghanistan is so filled with such a history and so many problems that it's hard, isn't it? You can't generalize for the whole country, can you? It's all different sections.
Different sections and different tribes. This is very important, and it's very difficult for Americans, I believe, American politicians to understand. This is a different tribes with sometimes with 1,000 years of history, sometimes with 100 years of animosity between them.
Yeah.
And this is one big problem, and it's very difficult for Americans.
And do we think that we're going to go in there and set up a central government? It's going to be democratic, and everybody's going to be very happy. And it's just too complicated for that to be accomplished.
It's too complicated.
And so in the meantime, we're really hurting people and ruining lives. Is that
we are
right?
doing that. We are doing that exactly. And one of the plans that we are having, NATO and United States having, is actually giving guns giving army goods, military goods, to local people, insurgents, to defend their own area. And this is absolutely wrong in my perspective, and in my conversations with many Afghans, I learned that this is really wrong because, as I mentioned, there are a lot of animosities between these tribes and among these people. And when they have a gun and they don't have enough education and enough understanding and they don't have enough training, in some places actually they say the trainings is up to 5 weeks. How to use this gun and how to come and kill other people. And this is not enough, first of all. And secondly, you are giving these instruments and these tools to people who already have a huge package of misunderstanding and animosity in their background.
Well, and we're assuming that all the Afghans agree with us that the Taliban is the enemy.
Oh,
is that
actually,
right? Are we?
I think we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know who is the enemy, and we don't know why we are there. Actually, I'm reading a very good book right now, President Obama's War. And one part is about Afghanistan. And one section of the war is talking about when Vice President Biden goes to Afghanistan for the first time. And when he meets with generals in different sections and ask each individual, generals, that why do you think we are here? He gets variety of response and answers. And he finds out we really don't know. Our people don't know why we are there. Some people say we are here to bring democracy to Afghanistan. We are here to help women in Afghanistan. We are here to get rid of Taliban. We are here because Al-Qaeda. We are here because of, we really don't know. And if some people believe we are there to get rid of Taliban, if even this is our idea of being there, we are not doing right. We are not doing something right because Taliban still is there. People are still suffering. When I say people, I'm talking about 68% of civilians. When we look at the actually numbers and we see in 2010, the civilians been more targeted than 2001. And the average percentage of civilians being targeted is going high. This is basically because Taliban actually is among people, first of all. And secondly, Taliban targets places which individual Afghans are working with foreigners. And these are the places that it's a wonderful target for Taliban. Unfortunately, mostly are schools and hospitals.
Now, these are also places that the United States forces or the United States has hired contractors to build, right? Isn't that the irony of the whole thing? Is that we go in and we're supposedly building an infrastructure or we're building all of these needed institutions. And then, as you said, the Taliban is there and that's the first target.
Exactly.
But there are groups that work that are Afghani groups. I mean, we would call them what, an NGO? Would they be sort of an Afghan?
Yeah.
That if we gave them money, it would be a different result. Is that true?
I believe it would be a different result. First of all, because there is a understanding between among them and Taliban. They understand each other. They understand their culture. And right now, we are actually destroying the dignity of Afghans because everywhere they go, they see us, they see foreigners, non-Afghans who are doing something. And those places are mostly, as you mentioned, is target of Taliban. And they want to destroy these foreigners. Because we are actually hurting their dignity. We are in their land. This is one thing. And secondly, when we talk about construction, I was in Kabul, just in Kabul for 1 week, but I traveled very well. It's not really that big. I didn't see many construction. And I was amazed by that. We are spending billions of dollars in that country. And I didn't see much. That was a road which was, there was a work on that. And I asked people, and they said, this work has been around for 5 years. Just one road for 5 years. They still don't have water. They don't have electricity properly. They don't have switch system. The water, the dirty water, the toilet water actually is outside in the streets.
So there's no irrigation, no sewers, no irrigation.
Nothing. And these are very basic. And I don't know where this money goes. And I would love to find out. There are a lot of talk around, that there is not a clarity of where this money goes, either among foreigners or Afghan government. But we should find out.
There's a lot of talk here in this country, too, about the corruption that's there with the contractors.
And that is our money.
Yes.
Our tax money.
Yes, that's
and
right.
We need to find out.
Right. When a family is relocated because of the bombing and stuff into a refugee camp, how do they survive if they're out of their homes and I guess they're out of their livelihoods?
Yeah.
How are they surviving?
That was, I visited a refugee camp, and Qambar refugee camp. And that was something stayed with me all the time. I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, I cannot live my life because I remember the beautiful faces of my brothers and sisters who are suffering every moment. This specific refugee camp that I'm talking about, their home used to be in Helmand, in southern part. Because over there actually there were a lot of Taliban insurgencies. And then NATO and American, basically, they bombarded that area. A lot of those people lost their home, their land, their family members, their body parts. And then they left their homeland from there and came to Kabul. Now they are between, how American says,
the
rock and hard place, exactly. And because they are there and government don't help them because government believes they are helping Taliban. And government and the Kabul government don't want these people to be there. But they don't have any place to go back because Taliban will kill them if they go back. So they are there and they just started to build their own, I cannot say village, I cannot say, I don't know what should I call it, their own place over there. And that place is nothing except they build walls with the clay and mud, and they find plastics, garbage plastics from the streets and bring it, make a roof. And their kids sleep on the bare floor, bare ground, and there is not anything. There is not hot water to wash themselves. There is not anything to eat. These people just get and collect garbage from the streets and make fire to cook on that, or to make a little hot water to wash themselves. And most of them lost their body parts, and they never been in a hospital. They've been taken care of by their other family members. And a lot of them are in pain, daily pain. And that was terrible. That was, I cannot believe it, that we, as a human being, we are doing something like that to other members of our family, as our brothers and sisters, and they are suffering every moment.
Are they involved in discussions about the government?
No.
No.
Nobody cares about them. Yeah. They are not involved in any discussions. And
so there's a whole different, how many of the Afghanis really know about Karzai or know about the parliament or anything like that?
I think, unfortunately, we have to remember the education is really low in Afghanistan. A lot of people, not because they don't like it, but they didn't have the opportunity. A lot of girls, for example, we know during Taliban they couldn't go to school, and school in general was just focused on reading Quran and Islamic text. And all of these make this current generation uneducated mostly. But at the same time, with that condition, just keep in mind, there are a lot of people who've been active in the past several years, especially women. It was amazing for me to see a lot of women organizations and women activists. They are around, they work really hard. Some of them are in connection with the parliament, with the Majlis, they call it, parliament, and some are in connection with the President Karzai, but not really. It's not democracy in that context that when you vote, you have access to that person, you can go and it's not, unfortunately.
The women, how do they especially fear the Taliban? Or are there ways of accommodating?
I don't think now they have a fear of Taliban. And actually, we met in an organization a women organization. It was really interesting. They said some of their colleagues are men, and they are members of they were members of Taliban, and they came out of Taliban. They cut their connection with the Taliban, and they came and joined these kind of activities. So Taliban is not really something that when you join you cannot come out and you turn to be an evil.
Right.
So they are human also, and they change up to this situation. But fearing of Taliban is not really that much. I talked to some people. They said, even during Taliban, sometimes they felt not really that bad because they could bring security. Taliban could bring security. In their mind, it was really good. But short answer to your question, I don't think there is a fear.
Which is a very important thing for us to understand, isn't it?
For me, it was very difficult to hear good things about Taliban. I was really surprised to hear they said Taliban, sometimes it was good for the security.
So interesting. So this is not the first refugee camp you have visited. I mean, that's part of your work is doing a lot of this. Yeah. But you think this is the worst one you've been in?
Oh, this was something that I never saw anywhere else. I visited refugee camps in Palestine, in Bethlehem, in Ramallah, refugee camps in Jordan, Lebanon, but none of them was like what I saw in Afghanistan.
Yeah. You have also experienced personally this kind of upheaval in your life.
Yeah.
You're an Iranian.
Yeah.
You're from Iran. And you told me that you came here very suddenly.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's, I think it was a long time ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah. A long time ago and not a long time ago.
Exactly. When I think about it, in the past 10 years, I've done a lot. Yeah. And sometimes I'm really proud of myself. I came to this country in 2000 with my husband and my twins. They were 18 months old when we had to leave Iran. And in Iran, it was immediately after the election. Also there, President Khatami, who was a reformist, he came to the office and he gave an opportunity to many people who couldn't work before him. And he gave an opportunity to work. My husband was one of them. My husband was educated in the States, and he was a filmmaker, and his major basically was theater. And because he educated in the States, before Khatami, it was kind of animosity toward people who did that.
Yeah.
And he never got an opportunity to bring a show on the stage. And finally, after Khatami, he did. And it was amazing for all of us. And not just for him, but a lot of people, like a lot of filmmakers could make a film.
Start to work.
And a lot of actually concerts, music concerts could happen.
So here you were in an era of freedom.
Freedom. And those years was amazing. Is not just in this regard. I remember when we went to buy a newspaper, it was many published. And each one of them had something, revealed something from the past that it was a hunger for that. And they knew that. And you could find it in thousands of many newspapers. But unfortunately, that period was very short. Immediately, conservatives learned their lesson that if reformists continue like that, we will lose the power, and we want to show them that we are the main people who are running this country. And they started to close down all of these opportunities. Immediately, many of newspapers actually banned, they never published. Many of the people who worked there, they went jail. And movie theaters burned by the government supportives. And theaters like ours, they were raided, and they were, the government agents actually came in the middle of the show and they closed down the show. Midsummer Night's Dream. It was Midsummer Night's Dream, and it was not really something, but they thought the show was anti-Islamic. And although when you want to have a show, you have to go through a variety of stages, and they will approve it. You don't do it by yourself. The government approve it first. And my husband went through all of these stages. So anyway, that was force. And they closed down the show, and my husband went to court and all of those process. And finally, at the end, was several messages in our answering machine that they will kill our twins and they will burn our car and they will burn our home. And so it was a week and we decided to leave the country. And we had just 1 week to pack everything. And it was very difficult for me, especially because I couldn't speak the language and even a word. And then with the twins just coming to New York, I didn't know anything. And I was really depressed, and I thought the only thing can help me is just improving myself, and specifically because I love to read and I love to talk to people. You can see I love talking. And then I couldn't. And then I decided to go to school, and I got my bachelor's in Iran, and I came here for my master's. And here I actually graduated from CUNY. And I want to actually mention my professor's name, who became my mentor, and she helped me a lot, Professor Beth Barron, who is still teaching here.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And then when did you get into the work with the fellowship?
After actually I finished my master's, I started to teach in colleges in upstate New York, and women's studies, specifically women in Middle East.
Yeah.
And then I became actually interested to the work of fellowship, and I was a member of Fellowship of Reconciliation. Then I got the announcement that they are looking for someone.
And there you are. So, but you told me now that you stopped off on your way to Iraq. You stopped off in Iran. And we were talking about, what do you do in a country like that?
And my heart is in Iran.
Yeah.
Every moment. This is my work and my life, that every day when I wake up, before I wake my kids up for their school, I just go and check the news from Iran. And
your parents are still
there? My parents are still there, and my friends are still there. But when you love something, or somewhere, in this case, Iran, it's not just my parents and my friends and people whom I know. It's the streets, is the sun, is the moon is different there. And I'm in love with each little element. And I still have a very good connection with Iran. After, when we came actually here, then after 3-4 years, I went to Iran for the first time. And after that, I noticed nothing happened to me. Nobody arrested me. So
you went
I
again.
continued. And then part of our program at Fellowship of Reconciliation is civilian diplomacy. That part of that work is we are sending delegations. We call it fact-finding delegations to different countries, and one of them is Iran. Every year, 8,000 Americans visit Germany, and just 250 of them visit Iran. So it's really a small portion of Americans who visit Iran. And unfortunately, a lot of news that we get about Iran is through the media. And I want to tell you a secret that I really don't trust media. And I think this is really good when Americans go there by themselves and see that's true. Iranian government are, Iranian system is a dictatorship. Yeah. Iranian government, they are not really offering freedom to their people. There are a lot of bad things about them that I can just count them for hours and hours, and especially after the election, all of us have seen what happened to the people who came to the streets for freedom and democracy. But the policy of the United States toward Iran is not right either. And the politics is happening in the Middle East, in my belief, is not fair. We are taking side, especially with one power or two powers in Middle East, Israel and Iran. We are really taking side, and this makes more problem for Iranian people.
We're practically at the end of our half hour, so I just want to jump ahead. When we help the anti-government people, the government feels that they're a front for Americans, right? And that is what you had said was a major problem with our policy.
That is a major problem.
That we're really hurting the people we want to help.
Yeah, we are really hurting them. And at the same time, we are threatening the country. At the same time, we are doing sanction, which is hurting the people. And none of these are really helping the democracy in Iran. Democracy in Iran needs us to stay away from them. And anytime they actually went close to democracy, we destroyed that. Like in 1953, we did it.
Yeah.
And now is the time we learn our lesson and let people just make decisions for their own country. Domestic issue in Iran, I believe, is people's issue, is people's problem, and it will fix by their own hands. We as foreigners, we really shouldn't engage in the domestic problems in Iran.
So we should stop our crusade almost to bring democracy to all of these different countries, right? I mean, it's the same thing as what you said about Iraq.
Yeah.
Is we
And
should leave them alone.
Yeah.
I mean, Afghanistan.
Yeah, we should leave them alone, definitely.
Yeah.
And one thing we should understand is our culture is different from there. And the thing is, we believe everything is good for us. We want to export it. We are very good people, and we want to export. We want to share everything we have. But many times, actually, the things we have, they don't like it at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't help us, right?
It doesn't, and it doesn't help them.
Yeah. So you believe that if more people went to these countries and met these people and got a better understanding, we would then have more pressure at home to change our policy.
You said it well.
Yeah. If somebody wants to go with you, how do they do that?
They can visit our websites at www.forusa.org. And they can go to the delegation parts, and they can write to me. There is my address over there, lzand@forusa.org. They can just go there and write to me. And we have delegations for Afghanistan and Iran, and we can connect them with delegations to Pakistan and Israel-Palestine.
And what about Iraq? We haven't discussed that at all. This is not the time to bring it up, but anyway.
Iraq is a different situation also, but at the same time is the same.
Yeah.
You know, and people are suffering from our bombardments and from the lack of the right policy in the country. But the good thing about Iraq is more Americans are aware of Iraq.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
It's not a good war.
Right. Well, thank you so much. This has been so interesting, and I certainly hope that people will look at your website and
Hopefully.
And if I weren't so old, I'd go. But I'm not. I really am.
You are not old at all. And this is first thing. And secondly, we had people in their late 80s.
Oh, good.
And it is not, especially Iran, is not difficult trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Afghanistan, you need some.
Thank you, Leila Zand. If there are any people you'd like to hear and topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.